Okay, let's talk about that feeling. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. You're in the zone, everything's flowing, and then bam, you hit a wall, a mental wall. All of a sudden, the screen gets blurry, the ideas just stop coming, and your motivation completely evaporates. So in this explainer, we are going to get into the real science behind that brain drain and show you how to start working with your brain, not against it. I mean, seriously, who hasn't had that experience? That moment where your brain just shuts down. It says, nope, we're done here. It usually hits you around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, right? Well, what if I told you that feeling, that crash, has almost nothing to do with your willpower? And this is the core of it right here. So often we beat ourselves up. We think, oh, I'm so lazy, or I just don't have enough discipline. But the real science tells a totally different story. That mental burnout you're feeling, it's a real physical process. It's about your brain's metabolism. It's not a character flaw, it's a resource problem. So let's really dive into that all too familiar afternoon brain fog. What is actually going on under the hood when your focus just vanishes into thin air? That feeling of being totally fried, it's not just a feeling, it's the metabolic cost of doing hard mental work. You see, intense focus, what some people call deep work, absolutely guzzles energy. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain doing all the heavy lifting for decisions and focus, is incredibly hungry. And here's the kicker. Unlike your muscles, your brain can't store fuel. It needs a constant, fresh supply. When that supply line gets low, so does your thinking. Okay, so how do we deal with this? How do we manage our brain's energy? Well, one of the most famous and effective tools is actually super simple. And it all started, funnily enough, with a kitchen timer shaped like a tomato. You've probably heard of it, the Pomodoro technique. It was developed back in the 80s by Francesco Cirillo, and the idea is just brilliant in its simplicity. You just work in a super focused 25-minute sprint, and then you take a short 5-minute break. Do that 4 times, and then you earn a longer break. It's a simple system for managing your cognitive energy by building rest right into your process. And look, this isn't just some life hack. It's actually backed by solid research. A huge review of studies found that when people used structured work intervals, like the Pomodoro method, they reported about 20% less fatigue than people who just took breaks whenever they felt like it. 20%! That's a huge difference. In fact, check out this quote directly from that review. It says these time-structured Pomodoro interventions didn't just help a little. They consistently improved focus, reduced mental fatigue, and enhanced sustained task performance. They outperformed self-paced breaks across the board. The big takeaway here is that planning your rest isn't lazy. It's actually a high-performance strategy. But why? Why does this work so well? This is where we get to the really fascinating science behind it all. It turns out your brain has its own internal clock. So when you're in a deep work session, there are 3 key things happening inside your head. First, your brain is burning through its main fuel, glucose. It's just running out of gas. Second, your dopamine levels, the chemical that keeps you motivated and on track, start to drop off. And third, another chemical called adenosine starts to build up. Think of adenosine as the you need a nap chemical. It creates a real biological pressure to rest. And all of this brings us to a really important number, 90 minutes. You see, our bodies naturally operate on these things called ultradian rhythms. They're these 90-minute cycles of peak alertness followed by fatigue. This isn't just random, it's a fundamental biological rhythm we all have. So what happens when you ignore that internal 90-minute alarm and just try to grind through it? Well, your performance tanks, period. You start making more mistakes, your creativity dries up, and you can't even remember what you were working on half an hour ago. It's the absolute definition of working harder, not smarter. Okay, but here comes a really cool twist in the story. That fatigue you feel, it's not a total system failure. Because as it turns out, not all brain fatigue is created equal. I love this insight from a discussion online. It says that when you feel mentally exhausted, it's not that your whole brain is tired. It's that a specific process, a specific mental muscle is tired. You've worn out one cognitive system, but you've got others that are still totally fresh and ready to go. And this phrase just sums it up perfectly. Being tired from staring at a spreadsheet is a totally different feeling than being tired from playing guitar or being tired from talking to people all day. These things use different parts of your brain, different neural circuits. The real trick is to figure out what kind of tired you are. So think about this. Instead of just mindlessly scrolling on your phone when your analytical brain is fried, you can strategically switch to a different kind of task.
Then coding all morning? Try listening to a podcast or an audiobook. Been writing by yourself for hours? Go grab a colleague and talk through an idea. Or better yet, go for a walk and just look at the world around you. You're using a different part of your brain, and it can feel just as refreshing as a total break.
So let's bring this all home. How do we put all these ideas together into a practical strategy? Well, it all boils down to one thing: finding your rhythm. This is really the most important takeaway of all. Truly effective, creative work isn't about mental endurance. It's not about who can stare at a screen the longest. It's about rhythm. It's about working in smart, focused sprints and then resting in a way that truly recharges you. Okay, so here's your game plan. First, try working in focus bursts of 60 to 90 minutes on your hardest stuff. Respect that natural rhythm. Second, when you take a break, make it a real break. Get up, move your body, get some natural light if you can. Third, when you start to feel that analytical fatigue, don't just stop. Switch. Move to a task that uses a different mental muscle. And finally, a really crucial one: close the loop. At the end of a session, just jot down one sentence about where you left off and what you're going to do next. This lets your brain fully disengage and recharge. At the end of the day, this is all about working with your biology, not fighting it. The question isn't if you'll get tired, you will. The question is how you're going to manage that energy cycle. So I'll leave you with this. How are you going to design your day tomorrow to work with your brain's natural rhythm?